Thank you, Joel, and thank you to the entire team at the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation for putting together such a special and meaningful week for us. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you this week at Capitol Hill Ocean Week. I noticed if you came in the Pennsylvania Avenue entrance, there's a farmer's market being set up, so please be sure to make your way out there today. As Joel mentioned, I'm Kristy Clement, CEO of the Alaska Fisheries Development Foundation. I grew up in a small coastal village in the Gulf of Alaska, where the tides shaped our days and the ocean shaped our lives. Alaska, just for a little orientation here, has over 6,000 miles of coastline. And when you include tidal shoreline, it stretches over 46,000 miles. That's more than the entire lower 48 states combined. Nearly 200 communities in Alaska depend on the ocean, not just for income, but for cultural traditions and identity. So you'll see here on the map that each purple dot represents a commercial fishing community. The larger the dot, the more active and involved the community is. So you'll see the larger dots represent the ports that bring in the most landings and have our seafood processors. In Alaska, the ocean isn't just part of life, it defines us. So here, you'll notice that there's a little orange section here in the Gulf of Alaska, and that is Kodiak Island. That's where I'm originally from. And if we zoom in a little bit more, you'll see that Kodiak is a rugged archipelago with one central town and several surrounding Alaska Native villages, including Port Lions, which is where I grew up. There's no road system connecting the villages, so you have to either fly or you have to boat out to the communities, and that's how we stayed connected. Alaska is rich in natural resources, and there's no shortage of beauty. It's remote, it's wild, it's breathtaking. I couldn't share about Kodiak today without including a few pictures of the Kodiak brown bear. These pictures were taken on the southern end of the island. Seafood wasn't just what we ate, it was our economy, our culture, and our way of life. This will go here. And here, this is one of my favorite photos of my daughters from several years ago. And every fish that came aboard got a name and a proper place, at least according to Ella. Moments like those remind me of how much the ocean has shaped our lives. But when I think back to my own childhood, I remember sitting down for dinner, seeing a mountain of king crab legs piled high at the table. And I recall thinking, do we have to have king crab again? So let's be honest, who here wouldn't pay good money to be disappointed by a mound of rich, buttery king crab? But times have changed. What once felt endless, like piles of king crab, is no longer guaranteed. Alaska's king crab fishery, once iconic, once abundant, has faced closures, shrinking seasons, disappearing stocks, and a changing ocean we can't ignore. That story isn't unique to crab. It's the story across many fisheries. It's why we can't treat the ocean like it will always be what it was. We have to lead with intention, we have to steward our resources wisely, and we have to prepare for what's next. Fast forward a few decades, and we've entered a new era where the tools are more advanced, the stakes are higher, and the pace of change is faster than ever. We now have powerful tools at our fingertips: AI forecasting, smart sensors, and real-time monitoring of ocean data. But even with all of that, our oceans are changing, and our coastal communities are under pressure. which brings us to why we are all here today. The next wave isn't a distant threat. It's already here. The next wave demands that we do more than just react. It calls us to lead. When I give thought to riding this next wave, 3 key components come to mind: shared knowledge, innovation, and strategic partnerships. The foundation of the next wave is shared knowledge, information that we can trust, that leads to smarter, more responsive decisions. In Alaska and across coastal America, we've always relied on a blend of science and lived experience. Before the ocean sensors and predictive models, we had navigational charts, VHF radios, and generational knowledge that was passed down at the docks or at the coffee table. My grandmother here, to I guess it would be your left, Peggy Dyson, was part of that system. She didn't have a degree in oceanography, but she had something just as powerful: a deep respect for the ocean and an unwavering commitment to the people who worked on it. It started with my grandfather, Oscar, who happened to be fishing out in the Bering Sea, and Peggy would call the National Weather Service to get the forecast for his area. And then she'd relay it to Oscar over a single sideband radio from her home to keep Oscar and his crew safe. So other fishermen were listening into that radio station, and they began to ask her to also provide the forecast for their location. So pretty soon, she was broadcasting twice a day, sharing marine forecasts, relaying news and messages to the fleet, and even assisting the Coast Guard with search and rescue operations. From 1965 to 2000, she became known as the voice of the North Pacific. So what started as an act of care became the backbone of modern marine communications in one of the world's most remote, storm-prone fisheries. That's what shared knowledge looks like. It starts with care, with observation, and with connection. And that kind of knowledge doesn't disappear, it evolves. We can't manage fisheries by data alone, and we can't respond to climate impacts without science. The future of the blue economy depends on our ability to blend traditional knowledge with modern tools, to value observation alongside AI, to pair community voice with forecasting tools. This isn't either or, it's yes and. Because better data means better decisions. And the most resilient seafood systems are built on both what we know and what we're learning together. The next wave won't be solved with the tools of the past. Innovation isn't about doing more. It's about doing differently, doing better. The blue economy is one of America's greatest opportunities for sustainable growth, but we need to make space for new ideas. Automated seafood processing, low-impact gear, aquaculture development, and innovative tools. At AFDF, one of our focus areas is our Seafood Modernization Initiative. It's a 6-part strategy to revolutionize Alaska's seafood industry, from harvest out to plate. So we're focused on accelerating adoption of new tools and automation of infrastructure, which is so needed, supporting full utilization of products and reducing the waste, investing in value-added products, growing new market opportunities, strengthening a skilled, resilient workforce, and ultimately building a global center of excellence in fisheries sustainability. We're engaging with industry and partnering across sectors to ensure our modernization efforts are rooted in regional needs and statewide opportunities. We recognize that this will not happen overnight and that transformation requires serious capital and long-term commitment. But we're in it for the long haul because this return isn't just financial, it's generational. Innovation doesn't replace tradition, it scales it, it sustains it. It gives us the ability to thrive and not just survive, but to lead. And to lead successfully, we need national policy that brings together science, business, and communities with investments in ocean-based R&D. So how do we do this as a country? It takes strategic partnership, and that means alignment between local knowledge and state priorities and tribal or indigenous leadership, federal support, and both public and private sector collaboration. The next wave can't be ridden alone. No single agency, sector, or organization can build the future on its own. Partnership is not transactional, it's transformational. And the kind of transformation that we're talking about requires real collaboration. So allow me to share an example of how AFDF is partnering with some amazing organizations to make meaningful change. I opened with a memory of that glorious mound of king crab stacked high at the dinner table. Let's go back to those king crab legs that I once took for granted. The story doesn't end with a decimated stock. The story continues. This year, AFDF is leading new efforts to help restore the Bristol Bay red king crab fishery. We're working with Trident Seafoods, the St. Paul Tribe, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and the University of Alaska Fairbanks, plus a few others, to raise juvenile crab in a hatchery and help rebuild stock. So this project combines cutting-edge science, shared knowledge and expertise, and real partnership. It's funded by NOAA, whose continued support is essential to the future of our oceans. The king crab fishery isn't just a story of collapse. It's a story of response. It's a story of adaptation, of alignment, and of action. And it shows us that even the most iconic fisheries must evolve to endure. Alaska produces over 60% of the nation's seafood, and that makes Alaska a cornerstone of the U.S. seafood system. But we're not the whole story. From Gulf shrimpers in Louisiana to lobster fishers in Maine, oyster farmers in Washington state, and the many kelp farmers that are spreading across the nation. And let us not forget the Great Lakes. America's seafood story is as diverse as its coastlines. This is a national movement, and it's not just about fish. It's about food security, jobs in working waterfronts, healthy oceans, resilient communities, and a stronger national economy. If we get this right, if we modernize, invest in innovation, and strengthen our partnerships, we sustain our seafood systems. We position the United States as a global leader in sustainable seafood and the blue economy. The future of ocean stewardship demands bold, transformative leadership. Leadership that can navigate changing ocean conditions, economic pressures, and global uncertainties. The future won't be defined by one agency, one region, or one sector. It will be shaped by how we show up together, united in our values, aligned in our goals, and ready to build a future that honors our past while embracing what comes next. We often talk about weathering the storm, and right now, Alaska's seafood industry is facing a perfect storm. Rising costs, declining prices, migrating stocks, trade and tariff impacts, a perfect storm indeed. That might sound familiar to many of you across the country. But what if this isn't just a storm? What if this is the climate? If volatility is the new norm, our task isn't to wait it out. It's to redesign, to reimagine, and to rebuild. Because the next wave isn't coming, it's already here. And we have a choice in how we meet it. When we lead with shared knowledge, build on innovation, and move forward in partnership, we don't just weather the storm, we redefine the horizon. Let's build the world's most trusted, most resilient, forward-looking blue economy right here in the United States. The challenges are real, but so are the opportunities. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here with you this morning and to have such an important week here in DC. Thank you very much. Kuiana.